Welcome back. Whether you're going to be transferring information in or out of Skool, you need to be assured that you are collecting some information. One of the ways that you'll do that is with your plugins. You're going to want to make sure that your membership questions are going to be turned on. And at minimum, you are going to want to collect the name and email address by asking the person that becomes part of your community what their email address is. If some services need for us to collect the first name and last name, we are also going to want to collect that information also. What you'll notice is that you have 3 questions available to you. And so in this case, we are going to eliminate the first question, and we're going to collect the last name in the membership questions. What we can do in this case is we can order the information the way we want. So for example, we can move some questions up, and we can have the questions ordered in the way that we want. Now, this is going to be the minimum level of information that we're going to need in order to do integrations most effectively. Now, you may need to ask different questions and you may need to not collect first name and last name, but in some cases, you will need first name and last name in order to move information from one platform to the other. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, if you are collecting the name and email address of individuals that become part of your group, you can use Zapier to transfer information out of Skool. One reason to do that would be that you want to add the individuals from your Skool account to your email marketing list. And so to do that, you're going to go to the Create area. You're going to create a Zap. What you're then going to do is you're going to start with the trigger. And the trigger is going to be Skool. We will click on Skool. And we will assume that your Skool account has been connected. And so the event that we're going to be working with in Skool is going to be that the membership questions have been answered. And so when membership questions are answered, this action is going to be set in motion inside of Zapier. So what we can now do is we can then click continue. You will need to select the Skool account that you're going to be using in order to set this action in motion. And what we need to do now is to test the trigger to make sure that there is information inside of Skool that we can use in order to transfer to another platform. So we're going to click on Test Trigger. And you're going to see information from inside of your Skool account. And so this is the trigger side of transferring information out of Skool. Next step we need to undertake is to set up the action. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Once you have set up the trigger, you then need to set up the action. And so if you have a record in the test area, what you can do is you can click to continue, and you can then set up the action. Now, for the sake of this video, what we're going to do is we're going to connect the individual that has answered the membership questions to our email marketing list. And so we're going to set the action at MailChimp. So again, the customer answers a question in Skool. We want that person then added to our MailChimp list. Now, you will need to go through the addition process of getting your MailChimp list added to Zapier, but the event that we want the subscriber to be added or updated. We're then going to click Continue. We're going to add our MailChimp account that's already set up in Zapier. We're then going to click Continue. What we now need to do is we need to set up the action. So we're going to choose a specific list. Zapier can see inside of our MailChimp account because it's already connected, so we're going to choose a specific list. What we're then going to do is we're going to map the email information. So we place our cursor inside of here, you'll notice that Zapier says this information is required. What we need to do is we need to get the data from our Skool account that is now connected to our Zapier account. And since we've had the individual answer the membership questions, we should now have the email address in order to map. So we'll place our cursor here. You'll notice that we do have, from the answered question, an email address. Now you'll notice that the rest of this information is going to be optional. For example, for the sake of MailChimp, we can choose double opt-in or single opt-in. What we're now going to do is skip down to the bottom. Now this is still going to be optional information, but since we've collected the first name, we're then going to map that field. Since we've collected the last name, we're going to map that field also. And we're then going to click Continue. We then have a test action. So what we can now do is we can test to see if Zapier will complete the step to send the information over to our MailChimp account. And the sending is successful. So if we publish this Zap, What we've done is we've set in motion that when an individual answers membership questions, they will then be added to our MailChimp list. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now that we are collecting the name and email address of individuals, there are other actions that we can take when an individual joins our group. For example, we can click Create a Zap. We can then set up Skool as our trigger. The event will again be the membership questions are going to be answered. We can then click Continue. We will use our Skool account that is already set up. And what we can now do is test our trigger. That's going to give us some test data. We can now continue with this test data. We are now going to set the action. Now, one of the features that you'll notice inside of Zapier that's a premium selection is Zendesk. So if you were running a support desk and you were using Zendesk, you can make it so that a support ticket will open and be sent to the individual when they join your Skool group. So we are going to set the event in action. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a ticket. We're then going to click Continue. We're going to use the Zendesk account that's already connected to our Zapier account. So what we can do is we can make sure that the individual is going to have an open support request so that we can interact with that individual personally through a support ticket. And so what we will use in this process, we will use the email address that we are collecting with the membership question in order to open a ticket in our support desk. And so you can set the action to integrate with that process. So you'll be using Zapier to set in motion an opportunity for you to interact personally with the individual that has joined your group. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, when you get started working with your community, you do want to finish all of your branding elements. For example, you do have the opportunity to include a cover photo. So we're going to go ahead and include a cover photo here in this area. Now you'll notice that you have an icon size that's 128 by 128. You also have a cover photo that is 4 by 576. You can do both of those images in a platform like ChatGPT. I'm going to use a very simple query. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to create the images at specific sizes, and we're going to give the chatbot our group name. Typically, ChatGPT will give you the wrong file type, and in most cases, you're going to have to re-upload the same images and ask for a PNG file type. And so we will return with the query that ChatGPT should now make these downloadable PNG files. And our files are now downloadable. And that means now that we can upload our files. We can then save the image, and we will upload the second image. And we will save the image. We are going to leave our group as private, and we're going to update the settings. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, one thing you can do is you can set up a specific course, and that course can be for live events. For example, we can click on Add a Course. We're going to make this course for live events. And of course, you can upload a photo for this particular course. You're going to determine who can have access to this particular course. One thing you can do is you can make it so that only some members have access. You can then add the course. What you can then do is you can set up a module. Once you've done that, what you can do, you can set up your live link. We're going to go here to this area. What you'll notice is that you can add in a video link. You can add in that video link if it's a YouTube video, Vimeo, Loom, or Wistia. So what you will need is you will need a link from one or all of these services in order to have as part of your live event. And we will look at that in the next video. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in the next video. Welcome back. We are now inside of YouTube Studio. We're going to go to the Create button. What we're then going to do is to go to this area that says Go Live. That's going to bring us into our live streaming area. What we're going to do is we're going to schedule our live stream for the time in which we are going to go live inside of our Skool account. So we're going to schedule our stream, and we're going to set up our stream. Now, for the sake of this video, we're not going to go through the entire setup process for doing a live video. What you'll want to do is you'll want to get the share link. You want to grab that share link. However, you will not be able to put this share link inside of your Skool account. You'll then want to go ahead and put that link here in this area. That's going to give you a specific link. What you will then do is you will take this link and then you will head back to your school account. And your live stream will be added. And so your scheduled live stream is then added to your course. And when you go live, individuals will be able to watch your live stream from inside your school account. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, the page where you have your live event is going to have a specific URL. And you want to take that URL and you want to make it available to individuals in the calendar for the live events part of your group. So we're going to get the URL from this specific module, and we're going to head to our calendar. What we're then going to do is we're going to set a specific date, and we want to set a recurring date for the live event. We are going to make this a recurring event. And we're going to make this a weekly event, and we're going to have it to occur on the same day every week. What we're then going to do is provide a location. And for this location, what we're going to do is we're going to provide a link. That link is going to be our live event page. So we're going to provide the link. We can then provide a specific description. We will then upload a cover image. So what's important here is that we only make this calendar item available for the individuals that are part of the live events course. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to make it so that the individuals that are part of the live events course will then see the event that we're planning every single week. We will then have those individuals reminded by email a day before, and we're going to go ahead and set our date. So basically what we have now done is we have now set a date. We have now created a live event, and the individuals that will see this live event on their calendar are going to be the individuals that are part of the specific live event course. And so the events will then be part of the calendar, and the only individuals that will see the events are individuals that are part of the course. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, one way to broadcast live into your Skool account is to use Zoom, and use Zoom in order to connect to YouTube so that you can use your embedded link. Now, from within your Zoom account, once you have set up a specific webinar or meeting, you're going to go to this area that says Configure Custom Streaming Service. What this requires is that you have a stream URL, a stream key, and then a live streaming page URL. When you are setting up a live stream inside of YouTube, all of that information is going to be available to you. So for example, the stream URL will come from this area. The stream key will come from this area, which you can copy into your Zoom account. Now, this live streaming page URL is where you're going to want to put the YouTube link for your live stream. Now, one of the things that you'll want to be careful of is that this live stream URL will become available while you're doing the live stream. So you want to make sure that you are muting that live stream when you actually start your live event. An alternative to using Zoom is to use your own platform, such as OBS Studio, and use it with a service like Restream. Restream will then create a live event inside of your YouTube account and schedule it when you need to go live. Once your live event is scheduled, you're going to get the individual link here in this area. You're going to click on Get a Shareable Link. You'll then put that shareable link here inside of YouTube. The link is going to change, and this is going to be the link that you're going to place inside of your Skool account. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. You may be using another sales platform in order to give your customers access to your Skool account. One scenario may be that you may be selling a product using ThriveCard. And what you want to do with that purchase is you want to give your customers access to your Skool account. You will start the process inside of your ThriveCard account, which should already be connected to your Zapier account, along with your Skool account. You're going to click the Create button and create a Zap. What you will then do is to start the trigger with your ThriveCard account, again, that is already connected to your Zapier account. Once our product sale is connected inside of Zapier, we're then going to connect an action to our Skool account. What we're basically saying is that when there's a specific purchase of a product inside of ThriveCard, we're going to invite a member to the group. What we're then going to do is click Continue. We will then use our Skool account that we have connected to Zapier. What we will then do is we will map the email address from our ThriveCart purchase. We will then choose the course from within our Skool account that we want the individuals to be given access to. Once we do that, we can then click Continue. And basically what we can then do is we can test a step. And we have successfully sent an email from a purchase to our Skool account. So what we can do is we can have a purchase in ThriveCart, and we can then invite that same individual to our Skool group. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. We can give access to individuals that make a purchase through our Gumroad account to our Skool account. What we'll need to do inside of a Zapier account is we'll need to set a trigger. The trigger will need to be our Gumroad account. You'll want to base it on a specific sale. You'll then click Continue. You'll then want to choose the Gumroad account that you have connected to your Zapier account. You will then click Continue. You'll then choose a product from inside of your Gumroad account. You'll then want to test your trigger. Once you have sample information, you'll then want to click Continue. The action, of course, will then be your Skool account. The event inside of Skool will be that you will invite a specific member. You will then click Continue. You'll then click Continue. You'll then select the email address from the Gumroad sale, and you'll then choose if the individual is going to be part of a specific course. You can choose that course. We can then click Continue. What we can then do is we can send the individual direct to Skool. And once you publish this element, you will then have set up a process so that when there is a sale in Gumroad, the individual will be added to your Skool group. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. We can also undertake the same process for individuals that become part of our wishlist membership. For example, if we go to the trigger area, we can set up a wishlist member trigger. We can then add in wishlist member. We can choose an event. We can state that when a member is added to a specific level, we want to have that individual added to our group. We can then click Continue. We can choose our wishlist member account. We can then click Continue. You'll then want to test your trigger to get sample information. The action will then take place inside of our Skool account. We will then select the event, and the event will be to invite a member. We can then click Continue. We can then enter the email address from our wishlist member account where we are mapping the two fields together. We can choose the course inside of Skool that we're going to add an individual to. We can then click Continue. And once we publish this element, we will basically be setting it up so that when an individual becomes part of our wishlist membership, they will then be added to our Skool group. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, there's one important note about the courses. And you may have noticed that only one of the courses is available as a choice when we are integrating two platforms. And that has everything to do with the course settings. In the course settings in one of the courses, you're going to notice that who can access the course are members of a certain level. If we would want those courses to be available in the integration, they would need to be set that only some members have access. We would then click Save. And you'll notice that the course that appears during all of the integrations is the one that says only some members have access. So if you want to have courses available in the integration process, you are going to need to make sure that your settings say that only some members have access when you set up the course. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, it's possible that you may use System.io in order to administer your course platform. If that's the case, even though System has its own community, you may want to add an individual to a Skool community. And to do that, you're going to set up your System.io account as the trigger. Now, in this case, we're going to make it so that when an individual has a tag added, we're going to have that individual added to our group. So we're going to click Continue. We're going to select our System.io account and then click Continue. What we are then going to do is we're going to look for the tag, and we're going to select the tag. What we will now do is we will then click Continue. We can then test our trigger. Once we verify the sample information, We can then add in our school account. And basically what we're going to do is that when an individual is tagged in our system.io account, we're going to have that individual invited to our school community. We are then going to click Continue. We're going to select our school community. We're going to map the email address. We're then going to go to the courses area. You're going to notice that we have more than one course now. We're going to select the course. We're then going to click Continue. And basically, once we publish this zap, is that when an occurrence happens in our system.io account, we're going to set off an action to have an individual added to our school community. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. We can create an integration with an autoresponder like GetResponse. And basically, we would make GetResponse the trigger, and we would make it so that the event would be when there is a new contact. We then click Continue. We would then make sure that our GetResponse account is connected to our Zapier account and choose it. In some cases, GetResponse will have you restart your access. You'll need to go inside of your GetResponse account and get your API key. Once our account is connected, we can then choose a specific list. Once we choose the list, we can then click Continue. We verify the contact information. We can then continue to go on to set up the action. And the action, we're going to use Skool. And in the event area, we are then going to select Invite Member. We are then going to click Continue. We are then going to click Continue. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select the email address. We can then choose the courses that the individual will be part of. In this case, we are going to say that the individual is going to be part of both courses that are available. We will then click Continue. And once we publish this particular Zap, this individual will become a member of our school as soon as they become a contact in our GetResponse account. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Once you begin to get members, you can interact with them inside of the community element. You'll see that tab available. What you can do is you can write in a message here in this area. And what you're going to notice is that you have a WYSIWYG editor with attachments, links, videos, a poll, an action, emojis, GIFs, and then you can categorize based on the elements that you have set up. You're going to write in your message. Now, when you type in your message, you're going to want to make sure that you have a title. You're going to want to make sure that you have selected a category. What you can also do is you can notify all of your members by email by ticking this button. What you can then do is you can post your message. You will then be asked to confirm. You will then confirm. And your message will then be available. Your group member will then have a notification. They'll be able to see their notification, and they'll see that the admin has posted a new message. They'll then be able to click inside of that notification to see the actual message, and they will then be able to reply. They will then type in their reply, and they will then be able to comment. Now, what you'll notice then is that the individual has some of the elements available to them in order to interact with your comment. They can then indicate if they want to watch for a reply. They will then be able to comment, and then there will be a threaded discussion. In that discussion, you will then see a notification. You will then see the reply that will then be available. What you can then do is you can either reply to the individual or you can indicate your approval. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Whether or not you have limited the ability for individuals to start chatting until they have been a member for some time, you can interact with them by chat as the group owner. You can go to the Members tab. You will see that Skool will give you a chat suggestion. You can click on the chat suggestion bubble, and you can write your message into the individual. In that message, you can add in an attachment, an emoji, and you can add in a GIF. Once you have your message ready, you can then click enter, and your message will then be visible to the individual. They will then see a message in their chat area. What they will do is to go to that chat area. They will then click on your message. They will then be able to reply, and then they will then be able to reply to your message. And you will see the reply here in this area. So you will be able to contact the individuals in your community as well as to direct message them as you maintain the community. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, in order to connect your community to other applications that you may be using online or in your online business, you can use third-party cloud-based connector Zapier in order to connect the two applications between both platforms. To do that, what you're going to do is you're going to go into the settings area. Now, you will need to have a Zapier account in order to do this, and that account will need to be active. Assuming that your Zapier account is available and is active, you can then click on this integration button inside of the Invite tab. We're going to click on Integrate. You're going to notice then that there's an API key that you can copy and enter into Zapier. Inside of your Zapier account, you're going to click on the Apps button. What you will then do is you will write in Skool as an application. You will then connect your Skool account. What you'll see here inside of Zapier is that Zapier requires your Skool API key. We will then enter the API key as well as our Skool group URL. And once you've gone through that process, Skool is then available inside of your Zapier account in order to connect with other cloud-based platforms for various purposes. Now, in the Invite tab, Skool does provide the 3 use cases for Zapier integration with your account. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. It's possible that you may want to export all of your members into another platform. You can do that in your Members tab. What you can do is you can go to this Export area, and you're going to click on this Export tab. What you're going to see is that you will then have a CSV file with the contact information that you can save to your hard drive. You can also open this file. One of the things that you're going to notice in the CSV file is that you will not have the email address to export to a new platform. What you will have are the answers to any questions that you have asked your visitor when they join your Skool account. So it's a good idea to go into your settings area. Now what you'll then want to do is to go to the plugins tab. What you'll then want to do is you'll want to click on the edit button. And a question that you may want to ask is for the email address. You're going to see that there is a specific response type. What you can do is you can select the response type to be an email address. You can then add this question to this area. And basically what this is going to do is this is going to give you the opportunity to ask for the email address so that when an individual becomes part of your Skool account and you have to export using a CSV file, you will have collected the email address when the individual becomes part of your Skool account. Now you can also import members into Skool if you have a CSV account from another platform. What you'll need to do is to go to the settings area. What you're going to see in the Invite tab is that you can click on Import CSV File. You're going to click on the Import button. What you're going to notice is that Skool will give you a template to use in order to place your information inside so that when you upload your file, it will map all the fields correctly. What you'll notice is that what is required is going to be the individual's email address in order to move them into your Skool account. What will then happen is that individual will then be sent an invitation to join your group. They will then set up their account and place in their name and email address. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. In conclusion, now there are other integration-oriented platforms that will allow you to connect cloud-based platforms to your Skool community, although not all are mentioned and sanctioned officially inside of your Skool account. If you go to your favorite search engine and you were to type in integration, Pabbly, and Skool, you will find that there is a connection between Pabbly and Skool. However, as of the recording of this video, integration with the platform connector Integrately, which is also called Make.com, does not yet connect to your Skool community. Now, the only connection that is maintained along with Skool is your Zapier connection. And because none of this requires coding on your end, this is an element you want to be certain about and will be maintained when platforms and software changes. So while you can currently use Pabbly and you can't use Make or Integrately, Zapier is the only platform that is being maintained and mentioned inside of the Skool platform in the settings area. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I'll see you either in another video or in another course. In order to undertake the integrations with other cloud-based platforms, you may be aware that Zapier is the one integration as of the recording of this video that is maintained by the Skool platform. And so it's prudent to focus on that integration, even though there are integrations, according to community experts inside of Skool, that work with integration platforms such as Pabbly. And you do need a Zapier account in order to undertake many other processes to transfer information into the Skool platform, as well as to transfer information out of the Skool platform. If you are familiar with the Zapier platform, you start by creating a Zap. And a Zap is a connection between cloud-based platforms. That connection has two parts. It has a trigger and an action. In some cases, there are steps in between, such as filters, but primarily in order to have one cloud-based platform set in action and to transfer information in, whether you have something happen in Skool to transfer the information out, the transfer happens between two situations, a trigger and an action. Now, Zapier connects to a range of applications, and you will need to have applications connected to Zapier in order to move information in and out of Skool. One of the newer features inside of Zapier is that it has an AI to determine what your Zap might look like if you want to do it. And so what you can do is you can type in a plain language query into Zapier to determine how to set up the Zap in Zapier. And so if you type in your plain language query, you can click the generate button and Zapier will attempt to try to make the connection that you will need to make, and you can look at the Zap that it puts together. Now, you don't want to necessarily rely on this Zap, but it is a start to thinking about how you might undertake the process. So obviously, one of the keys to getting the process to work is to have your Skool account connected so that you can then connect it to other cloud-based platforms.